Entitled brother fakes illness to milk my parents of their retirement savings. So, I grew up in a middle-class family and in a low-income area. My dad built his dream house there, and even though they could afford to move, they never wanted to. My parents had a tendency to spoil my older brother far more than me, mostly because I was the quiet one who never spoke up. This resulted in my brother getting his way far more often than me. Nothing blatant, but it was enough to give him an entitlement complex a mile wide. When my brother was a teenager, he struggled with some serious mental illnesses. These were absolutely legitimate and crippled his ability to function for several years. My parents were obviously very concerned for him, and so they willingly paid top dollar for the best psychiatrist and psychologist that they could find to help for him. By the time I was ready to go to a different city to start university, my brother was at a stage where he was ready to go as well. It was decided that he would go to a university as the same city as me, and we would live together. My parents offered to pay for our rent all the way through university, so us flatting together obviously made a lot of financial sense for them. We would have to pay for everything else outside of our student loans. Everything was set. We had found a good student flat, settled in, etc. He had a new care team in this new city. Awesome. Unfortunately, my brother had an episode on his first day that resulted in him not going to class. This meant he was removed from his program, compulsory first day, with the option of starting again in the second semester. Now, the obvious, logical, and sensible thing to do in that situation is for my brother to go home while I found a roommate to take the spare bedroom and he could move back up and try again next semester. My brother didn't like that. You see, he always hated living at home. He would always whine about how old our house was or how poor our neighborhood looked. Our neighborhood was lovely, great sense of community, and I always loved it there. But he felt that he deserved better. Next thing we know, his new psychologist has written a letter to my parents stating that it would be a good idea to allow him to stay living in the new city, to allow him to acclimate to his surroundings. My parents followed this advice and allowed him to stay. They replaced his weekly loan amount with an allowance of the same value and thought everything would move forward from there. This worked for a few weeks, but my brother started to hound my parents for more money. You see, he wasn't a student, so in his mind, why should he have to live like a student? No instant noodles and TV dinners for him. He wanted steak and lamb for dinner. He wanted to go to nice restaurants with his friends and go shopping whenever he felt like it. He wanted a new iPhone and a new MacBook because his was slow, etc. My parents eventually gave in and doubled his allowance. Second semester rolls around and my brother hasn't even bothered enrolling. My parents weren't happy, but his psychologist writes him another letter and so it continues. Fast forward 3 years and I am graduating with a job offer for my university in my field. The apartment is nice and convenient to my new job, so I continue to live there and now I only pay for my half of the rent and utilities. My brother is still not working or studying and his allowance is now almost equal to my salary. Every time my parents try to force him home, his psychologist writes another letter and my parents' trust in my brother's care team was high. They did save his life after all. By this point, my parents are just paying for his half of the utilities directly on top of his allowance. I suggested to my parents to get a second medical opinion, as he had been seeing the psychologist almost weekly for 3 years with no improvement. But my brother flat out refuses. He likes her. She speaks to his soul, whatever that means. About a year and a half after I graduate, our landlord decides to sell the apartment and the new owners want to live there. It's a normal thing that happens and I'm not bothered by this. I wanted to take the opportunity to get my own place. I now have a serious girlfriend whom I want to eventually marry, so I would like my own space that she could one day move into, and just generally move on with my adult life. But my parents don't want my brother living on his own just yet. And again, he is refusing to come home. And they beg me to stay for just 1 more year while they figure out an arrangement for him. We got a rather short notice to move, so I can understand this, and 1 more year won't matter too much to me. So apartment hunting we go. My brother goes fully off the entitlement deep end. He will only view apartments well outside of our price range. Anything within budget is either too old or too small or too dark or too ugly. He wants a new, modern apartment in an expensive suburb in the heart of the city. His psychologist then writes another letter outlining the importance of a comfortable environment for him. My parents cave once again and help him get his dream apartment for us, but I can't afford my half of the new rent. They compromise with me and I only have to pay the same rent as I was before, which is barely 1/3 of the rent at this new place, by the way. It's a beautiful apartment, so I was okay with the deal, even though I wasn't happy. Unfortunately, my brother is now used to getting everything he wants or needs. He starts asking me to pay for more and more of the groceries. Idiot me, thinking that mom and dad had cut down on his allowance. Now that the rent is so expensive, I agreed to take up some of the slack. Big mistake. They were still giving him the same amount, he just wanted more. He starts asking me for more and more things and then whines to mom when I don't give it to him. My parents cave over and over and over again and get him whatever he wants. New computer, new MacBook, new iPhone, heck, even a car. Up until this point, my parents could afford all of this and, somehow, still save well for their retirement. My mom was completely honest with me about their finances, as when the time came, the power of attorney would transfer to me, so she wanted me to know where they stood. They were on track for a long, comfortable retirement, but then my dad unfortunately lost his job through very unusual circumstances. His company just disappeared, and his boss left the country. This messed my dad up for quite a while, and he decided it was time to kick back and enjoy an early retirement. He was only 2 years short of retirement age anyway. My brother was furious. He would rage about how dad had betrayed him for not continuing to work to fund his lifestyle. He would regularly yell at mom over the phone, saying that he expects them to continue to support him because he deserves the security of the lifestyle he has earned. I laughed my ass off at that line, which turned into another long fight, but it was totally worth it. I knew that without dad's income, my parents couldn't afford the rent where we lived, so I decided to force the issue and move into my own place. I had hoped that this would result in my brother moving as well, but alas, his psychologist wrote him another letter, and he continued to live there. I moved on with my life, got married, went back to university, bought a house, so on and so forth. Grown-up stuff. 5 years go by and I have virtually no contact with my brother. I'm visiting my parents one day, and when I take them out for lunch, my mom breaks down crying because she can't pay. It turns out that my brother had been blackmailing / guilt-tripping my parents to continue to support him, saying that if they don't, he'd end up homeless and it would be all their fault, etc. He still had the full support of his medical team, and my parents didn't know what to do. He had burned through nearly 20 years worth of retirement savings since I moved out. My parents were both forced to go back to work to try and stretch out their retirement savings. I decide to visit the psychologist myself, only to find out she is one of those tell people what they want to hear so they keep giving me money, predatory type of psychologist who was enabling my brother because he was a cash cow for her. Our entire family was furious. Turns out my brother had been recovered since his first year living away from home. He was perfectly able to work or study, he just didn't want to, and so she wrote him those bogus letters to let him get away with it. He decided to milk my parents of their savings to fund his lifestyle because he had earned it, and they owed him for not giving him what he wanted when he was younger. When confronted about it, he was entirely unapologetic. As far as he is concerned, he was entitled to everything he got and then some. It's been a few years since then, and my parents have completely cut him off. They are surviving, but within a few years, I will probably end up having to support them. I have no issue with this. I'm their son, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this, but it breaks my dad's heart knowing this. He grew up dirt poor and worked his butt off to provide for us, only to see all of it disappear because of my selfish brother. The psychologist had her license suspended after my parents laid a claim. I don't know if it was temporary or not, but I hope it was permanent. As for my brother, he works a dead-end retail job with a live-in boyfriend who pays for almost everything. He's still an entitled jerk, and I only see him during Christmas. I just want to emphasize, by the way, my brother did have legitimate mental health issues. I do not want to take away from that all. He just chose to willfully deceive everyone about the severity in order to demand that everyone else give him the lifestyle he feels he deserves. And before you ask, no, his mental illness did not contribute towards this attitude. It's not that sort of illness. He's just an entitled jerk. Wow, that guy is evil. Holy 20 years of... I feel bad for the parents. If I was the parents, I would have sued psychologist and the kid. I don't know what the lawsuit is, but you know what? I'm sure a good lawyer could conjure something up. Manipulation, blackmail, emotional blackmail. I don't know. Patricide? That's not a legal thing. But anyway, that kid sucks. Screw him. Story 2. My girlfriend has a gift and I'm terrified. Okay, this sounds insane, but I don't know anymore. I, 27M, have known my girlfriend, 24, for around 7 years, and she has always been a bit odd. Not in a bad way, but she's very empathetic and too kind for her own good. She also has chronic depression/anxiety and borderline personality disorder. A few months into us dating, she would do this thing where she would text me to hydrate/eat/stretch/relax my muscles, the works. I didn't think much of it, honestly, like these are very common things people forget to do. Then, she got more specific. An example being, hey, pop your left shoulder or it'll start to hurt later tonight. Or she would even buy me foods I was craving without me asking, or send me reassurance when I was feeling low. Even those, however, I was able to brush off with ease. Like what nearly 30-year-old doesn't have aches and pains, you know? It was like that for months, and occasionally I would ask her how she knew I wasn't hydrated all day or how she knew I wanted one of my cravings, to which she would always say and respond with, "It's a gift." Cool, huh? I figured she was bluffing and kept getting lucky. Now, I don't think that's the case. Last week, she called off work and rushed over. I asked her why she felt the need to do that, and she said she felt compelled. An hour later, we got the news a family member I was close to passed away. Here, I have to note she is close with my parents, but they don't talk outside of family gatherings, so there's no way she would have known prior to the call. She stayed by my side for the rest of the week and confided in me that she was a different religion than I am. She's a Hellenistic pagan and I'm a Baptist, and that she got the urge to call off work when she was cleaning up her altar. I was a bit shaken up, but ultimately I was just glad she was there with me. This weekend we went to visit her dad. She suggested it because he lives outside of a tourist trap town and we could use the vacation. I agreed and it was a fantastic trip, and on the ride there, she confessed she doesn't like my job because it's dangerous. It wouldn't be dangerous, and I don't think it's dangerous at any of the other shops, but we simply don't have the equipment to do what we claim we can. So we have to jerry-rig quite a bit. I explained this to her, and she just reiterated she wants me to be careful. I promised I would be, and she dropped it. I had tried my best not to tell her about how sketchy it gets sometimes at work, or that we actually had a workplace incident recently, but the way she talked, it felt like she knew. Throughout the drive from her dad's to the town, the drive was anxiety-inducing. We are talking heavy rain, plus bad drivers, and my car was acting up. Yet, my usually anxious girlfriend with car wreck trauma was unfazed. When I inquired about it at dinner, she said she knew we wouldn't wreck. So I asked her how she could possibly know that, and she said, "I have a gift, and I should just trust her on this." It was hard, but I did my best. When I was dropping her off, she warned me to be on the lookout for deer and to drive safe. Two somewhat normal statements given where I live, but I didn't think it meant, hey, there's gonna be a deer in the middle of the road, so don't get hit. It was just the icing on the cake, and I still don't get this gift. The next morning, she's gushing about how much she liked our weekend and how much she loved spending time with me, how we need to do it again, blah, blah, blah. She then mentions how I need to be careful on the drive there. Lo and behold, there was a wreck on my commute. I got to witness it. At lunch, she asks if I'm okay, which I kind of had just gotten a cut on my arm. I'm a mechanic, so it's common. I asked her if she could stop being so weird and to just chill because life is being weird and I'm not feeling it. She said, okay, but how do you think I feel? I'm just stuck like this. I apologized, and she agreed she would chill and told me she didn't mean to scare me, but now I'm super weirded out by her. I have read a lot of these posts, and this was my favorite one. Oh my god, that's so weird but awesome. She's like Sean Spencer, but if Sean Spencer wasn't a fraud, she's psychic. Or an alien. A psychic alien? She has a gift. All right. At first, I thought this was a case of stalking, but no, this is a case of supernatural powers, and it is awesome and slightly weird for the guy writing this. But he really should take this with the perspective of, oh my god, I have a psychic girlfriend. But he probably can't hide surprises for her around birthdays and holidays, though. Anyway, next story. Story number 3. I very truly cannot stand my daughter. Do not get me wrong. I love her. She is my flesh and blood, but I cannot stand being around her. She is trashy, posts political opinions on Facebook, has those "my wife is born in December and is crazy, do not mess with her or you'll find my body" shirts for her boyfriend. She does not care if she looks bad or stinks in public. I'm not saying you have to be dressed to the nines to go to the grocery store or that you shouldn't wear pajamas, but I mean she has visible stains, greasy hair to go out to eat or clothes shopping. She claims she is so country and redneck. We raised her in a small town, but it isn't a rural one. Not that it would make a difference or that rural living is bad, just that she is not country or redneck. I went to visit her the other week. She lives a state away and her house is filthy and does not look nice. She has the money to live a nice life, but she continues to live in squalor. This is not the girl I raised, and my husband and I cannot stand being around her, and it breaks my heart. She is not pleasant to talk to anymore. I'm sure some of you will ask if she is doing okay mentally. I've asked, and she says yes. She is not showing signs of depression, from what I've seen. She has declined any help to clean up her home. Not quite a hoarder, but not clean or a home for anyone. And she says she likes it how it is. When she visits us, she shows no respect for our space. Dirty dishes left about, her things strewn everywhere, eats everything from our pantry. I'm not one to turn down food for my children, even though they're grown-ups, but if you're visiting for a few days, I shouldn't have to spend $200 just on food for you. That was food for all of our kids who visited, not just her. I don't know why she changed this way. Her husband was redneck, but not trashy and disrespectful like this when we met. They've both given up, and I'm not sure why. I wish I could like my daughter, but I can't. I don't want to invite her for the holidays. She smells like cigarettes and body odor. Oh man, that one sucks. To lose your daughter, right? It's not that she kind of did become a terrible person. Just, oh man, that one sucks. But like, how do you live that? She needs an intervention. And if she has siblings, the siblings should make fun of her and bully her until she cleans herself. Or have a small child walk past her in public and say, "Ew, you stink, lady." Give the kid a 10, and then she'll be like, "Wow, maybe I stink." Because the truth always hurts from children. Anyway, next story. Story number 4. I found tickets for a cruise that my boyfriend got me. This gift has cemented to me that our relationship is over. I need to let this out without getting pushback from family and friends who think his gift is romantic, so I'm using a throwaway. My birthday is coming up in a few months, and 3 days ago, I found out what my birthday present was: tickets to a cruise. His sister spilled the news thinking I would be excited, and I'm not. We live together, and I found the gift, and I know it's for me. I sound so ungrateful, but I'm not. The gift just proves to me that things will never change. The first thing is, this gift isn't for me. I do not like cruises because I get really bad seasickness, and nothing I do helps. I also told him what I wanted to do for my birthday, which was go to a Ren Fair festival on my birthday. I have already taken that week off from work for it in preparation to go to this fair. I have purchased tickets and am saving month to month so that I have spending money without it affecting finances at home. Why would he book tickets the same time as the time I took off to go to the festival? Also, this cruise wasn't cheap at all, so it's basically wasted money because I'm not going. I'm so annoyed. I've told him time and time again that I don't feel like he listens to me, that I feel like he just gets me things by thinking about what's best for him or what he would like. It's not only gifts. He just makes decisions based on what he thinks is best, and I just can't deal with it anymore. I love him, but I'm so done. And before anyone says I don't talk to him or talk to him about this, I have, repeatedly. This has been a recurring conversation in our 2.5-year relationship. The next thing to do is talk about this and then end things. Edit. I appreciate the comments and concerns about cheating, but I know the gift is for me because it was in a really nice packaging that said, "Happy birthday, my name," and the bag had like cruise ship related items and possible excursions. The effort he went to, it made me sad because that means he could have put in a little effort about the things I like. If he had even just gotten me a ticket for the Ren Fair Festival or accessories from an online or even a piece of an outfit that had to do with Ren Fair, it would have made my entire month. It would have meant that he listened and got me something that interested me. I'm talking to him tonight and I'm not even annoyed anymore. I feel nothing about this. Oh boy, 2.5 years of being ignored. That sucks. Obviously, for some people, it takes longer time to realize those things. Me, though, I'm built different. I would have noticed it in 1 hour. Is that rude? Is that insensitive? I make jokes a lot. But anyway, let's see what happens next. Update. The day I wrote my post is the day I ended things with my ex. When he came home, I basically said I found the tickets for the cruise, and I asked him who they were for. He said they were for me for my birthday, and I ruined the surprise. I asked him why did he get me tickets for a cruise when he knows that I get seasick and also when he knows that I've been preparing for a Ren Fair festival for a couple of months now. He said that he always liked cruises when he went on them, and he thought that I could push through it with patches or some remedy because it was a really expensive cruise. He continued talking, but to be honest, I spaced out because I realized just how much this man didn't care about me. He bought cruise tickets completely disregarding what I had planned, how I would feel, and what I wanted to do, all because he liked them. Like, screw my birthday, forget what I want, to hell with how sick I get. He likes cruises, so we should do that. I think he realized I wasn't speaking or excited because he asked me what was wrong and I broke up with him. He was shocked and angry, and he asked why. This isn't the exact wording, but I said something like, "It's because I've realized how much you really don't care about me, and that you're always willing to put your wants over mine every time it suits you, even on my birthday." He started to argue and wanted to talk about it, but I was just numb and went to bed on the couch. After 2 hours of trying to speak to me, he left me alone. I woke up the next day and got ready for work. I oddly felt fine, but he wanted to talk, but I just said I'm done, and if he wanted to talk about the apartment or what we would do about the lease or anything regarding the end of the relationship, I'm okay with that. I told him I'm not changing my mind about this, and for me, this relationship is done, and I just want to split amicably. While I was at work that day, I had free time and I wrote down every instance I could remember just in the last 6 months of him choosing his wants/needs over mine. It was nearly 3 pages, front to back, and I didn't even realize how much I let go of because he didn't want to do it. When I went home and he tried to talk again, I gave him the list and I explained what it was. He left me alone for the rest of the second night. He's still not accepting the breakup. He wants to do couples therapy now or even go on a break because he realizes how much he has done. But nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not even trying to be mean or harsh to him, but I don't want to give him false hope. I also feel weirdly okay, but also numb at the same time. What I have to deal with now is breaking the lease, which he isn't willing to do because he thinks we can move past this. So I'm going to talk to the leasing office and see my options. At least I have my birthday to look forward to as I deal with the relationship ending and having to find a new place to live. Okay, so last time I was making jokes, but on a serious note, that is unfortunate. 2.5 years of being ignored feels terrible, right? And I guess, thankfully it wasn't 10 years or married with kids years, but, thankfully she found out relatively soon enough and ended it. And, I guess the guy wanted to try and fix things, but, she's entitled to be like, screw you, goodbye, you ignored me, so I'm leaving you. Bye, sister.